2,000 years ago, a Roman soldier could kneel beside a dirty river, fill a cup, and drink without fear. The water looked brown, leaves floated on top, mud swirled near the edge, but the soldier did something strange first. He dropped a small white powder into the cup and stirred. Slowly, the water changed, the dirt sank, the water became clear. Soon, it looked clean enough to drink. This simple trick spread through Roman camps and villages. People said it could turn muddy river water into clean water in minutes. But here is the strange part. In some places, the method became restricted. Some leaders even called it forbidden. Why would a trick that helped people survive become hidden? And what exactly were the Romans doing to purify water so long ago? The Roman world depended on water. Cities needed it every day. Soldiers needed it on long marches. Farmers needed it for crops and animals. But rivers were not always safe. Rain washed dirt into streams. Animals walked through the water. Sometimes waste from towns flowed into it. Romans knew dirty water could make people sick. They did not know about bacteria, but they understood that clear water was safer than muddy water. That is why they built amazing aqueducts to bring clean water from distant springs into cities. But when clean spring water was not available, Romans had to rely on rivers, and that is where their clever purification trick came into play. It was simple, fast, and used materials they already had. The key ingredient was something very common in the Roman world: alum. Alum is a natural mineral that looks like a white crystal or powder. Romans mined it from certain rocks and soils. They already used it in dyeing cloth and tanning leather, but someone discovered another powerful use. When a small amount of alum is mixed into dirty water, something interesting happens. The tiny particles of dirt floating in the water begin to stick together. These clumps become heavier and slowly fall to the bottom. In just a short time, the top layer of water becomes much clearer. Romans could then pour the clean water into another container, leaving the dirt behind. It was a simple chemical trick that worked surprisingly well. Imagine a Roman traveler stopping beside a river. The water is cloudy from rain. Instead of drinking it right away, he fills a clay cup from a small pouch. He takes a pinch of alum powder. He drops it into the cup and gently stirs with a stick. At first, nothing seems to change, but after a minute or two, the dirt begins to gather into tiny clouds. These clouds sink slowly to the bottom of the cup. The water above becomes clearer and clearer. Soon the traveler carefully pours the top water into another cup. What was muddy now looks almost clean. For people living 2,000 years ago, this must have felt like a small miracle. The Romans were masters of practical science. They did not always know why something worked, but they observed carefully. If a method helped soldiers stay healthy, they kept using it. Roman engineers even used alum in large water systems. Some records suggest it helped clean water stored in reservoirs or baths. By removing floating dirt, the water stayed clearer and smelled better. This knowledge spread across the empire. From Britain to Egypt, Roman workers mined alum and traded it widely. It became an important material in many industries, but its quiet role in water purification may have been one of its most valuable uses. So why was this trick sometimes called forbidden? The answer may lie in power and control. In ancient times, access to clean water was extremely important. Cities invested huge resources into aqueducts and wells. If anyone could easily clean river water, the value of controlled water sources might drop. Some leaders preferred people to rely on official water systems. In certain places, specialized knowledge like chemical treatments could be kept within guilds or professional groups. That meant ordinary people might not always learn the method. When knowledge is restricted or secret, it can quickly gain a mysterious reputation. Over time, a simple trick may start to sound like hidden or forbidden knowledge. Another reason may involve safety. Alum helps remove dirt, but using too much can affect taste and quality. Skilled workers likely knew the correct amount to use. Without guidance, someone might add far too much powder. Because of this, some authorities may have limited who could perform the process, especially in public water supplies. Restricting the method ensured it was done correctly. But again, when rules surround a technique, people begin to see it as something special or secret. What makes this Roman trick fascinating is that it still works today. In fact, the same basic idea is used in modern water treatment plants. Chemicals are added to water so tiny particles stick together and sink. This process is called coagulation and flocculation. After the particles settle, the cleaner water moves on to further treatment and filtration. The science has become more advanced, but the principle is the same one Romans discovered through observation. It shows that ancient people were often more innovative than we imagine. With simple tools and natural materials, they solved problems that still matter today. When we look back at Roman history, we often think of giant arenas, powerful armies, and grand aqueducts. But sometimes the most interesting discoveries are small ones: a pinch of mineral powder, a cup of muddy water, a careful observation. These small experiments helped travelers, soldiers, and villagers survive in a world without modern sanitation. They remind us that knowledge grows slowly, piece by piece, across generations, and sometimes the most powerful ideas are also the simplest. So the next time you see a muddy river, remember the Romans. Somewhere along those ancient roads, a traveler once knelt beside a stream. He stirred a little powder into a cup and waited patiently. Slowly, the dirt fell away, the water cleared, what looked unsafe became drinkable, a small trick nearly forgotten by history, yet powerful, enough to change how people survived in the ancient world. And for a moment, in that quiet Roman camp or roadside village, it must have felt like turning dirty river water into pure life itself.